So if he were still alive, Professor Boahen would have been 84 years old today, about this time. Maybe not today, but about this time. But 10 years ago, Ghana lost one of his great sons, Albert Boahen. They used to call him A. Boahen at the University of Ghana. Some people also used to call him Kontopiat. We never understood what that meant, but Professor Boahen sadly passed 10 years ago, and he was a colossal academic and politician. He is singularly credited for facilitating the discussions that returned Ghana to constitutional rule in 1992 by reason of a lecture that he gave, which said breaking the culture of silence. After the 1981 coup, there was a lot of silence about Ghana's possible return to constitutional rule. But Professor Boahen braved the odds and held a public lecture where he talked about breaking the culture of silence and asked the military government to return Ghana as quickly as they could to constitutional rule. This began the consternations in the country at the time. A few arrests occurred. Thankfully, nobody died. But eventually, the government cowed to pressure, and the 1992 constitution was formulated. Professor Boahen himself ran for elections as president in 92 and lost to the NDC government. And he was still around when President Prof was elected as president in 2000. 10 years ago on this show, we held a discussion with two of his sons, Charles Kofi Boahen, and Kwabena, whose phone is just going off anyway. But it doesn't matter. Gentlemen, thank you for being around. So we're happy that you're here, and I've seen the initiative that you're putting together. But let me ask you first, Kwabena, you live abroad, and perhaps therefore you feel the impact of the work of the professor better. How has it been 10 years knowing that he's not there?
I mean, I would say it's been, there's actually been a couple of books that have come out. There's the Boahen Reader, which is a collection of all his writings. And they've actually been, there's also an edited volume, which was like articles in honor of him by, historians. And so I think what you've been seeing more in the academic sphere is people kind of recognizing and sort of like building on his work or his legacy in that area.
I see. Charles, you've been here with us. Sometimes you're not, but usually you are. So how has it been for you, knowing that you cannot return to airport residential area in the afternoon and see the old Prof and have a laugh or two? How has it been?
I think what I've really realized is that time really flies, I mean, it seems like yesterday when, we got a call from you to come and sit down after going through a very traumatizing period of his burial. It was really intimidating, I remember then. Because it was the first, I think it was the first parent we lost of the two that we have. Luckily, my mother is still alive. But so I think that, it was a big funeral. There was a state's burial graciously hosted by Kufuor, and then there was the main burial in Jobbing, and it was a big event. So, it's still very vivid in my memory. And all of a sudden, 10 years have passed, And sometimes I wish he was still here today to see what we have accomplished and how far we've come as a country, as his kids, and just in general, And, I asked myself if he would approve of the way the country has evolved and how things have sort of panned out. I think there's some aspects of it that he would really be happy about, and there's some aspects of it that he would be sad about. But I think the biggest lesson in all of this is that, in the blink of an eye, time passes. So if there's anything that you have to do, stop postponing it and do it today.
Do it quickly.
Yeah.
But people will be very happy with your initiative to put together a foundation, which is long overdue, I should say, but which is here now. So tell us about it. I don't know who will take it, but how is that foundation setting up?
Should I take it? Yeah, no, so this is something that we've always wanted to do, and I think that the 10 years was a nice sort of time to commemorate it, and also sort of find a way to keep the name alive and the legacy. And I think that the objective of the foundations is very simple. We want to be able to support scholarship, especially scholarship in the field of African history, So we are going to be giving scholarships to students doing PhDs in African history. We also are going to be supporting the history department at the University of Ghana has graciously decided to establish a memorial reference library in the history department in Prof's name. And in his will, he had requested that all his books and manuscripts be given or bequeathed to the history department. So 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago, we transferred all his books, over 3,000 books and manuscripts and so forth, to the history department. We are now trying to raise money, which the foundation will support, to renovate some space within the history department for a reference library. Some of the other professors, Adom-Otchere and Co, have also graciously agreed to provide their material to the library. So we believe it will become a great reference place for people to go in and do research. So we'll support that initiative as well. And then the third one is a Penmanship Award. We want to inaugurate a Penmanship Award, which will be awarded every year or every other year, which would be to encourage writing. You know, nobody writes anymore. You know, nobody publishes. We don't have people capturing events, both economic and political history, and, you know, doing research. And so we feel like we need to provide some encouragement for people to go back into writing. You know, the old man was always, I always meet people who said, hey, look, you know, your dad used to write so well, and I learned my English from reading your dad's books and so forth and so on. And, you know, we miss that. You know, nobody writes anymore. And I mean, I'm sure you know, right now the English that people write is atrocious. And, you know, I see you, you know, blinking, but some of the text messages you get, you can't even decipher them. And if we don't do something about it, we're going to end up, you know, speaking some language that we all don't recognize.
I see. That's quite interesting. But I'm looking at your bio here right now, and Prof, you are a bioengineering PhD, and you're teaching at Stanford.
Yes.
Charles is into all sorts of money-making ventures, equity, real estate, this and that. But you call your company the Black Star Advisors. That's nice.
Yeah. The whole genesis of Black Star was Marcus Garvey, who was trying to encourage African Americans to come back home after they were freed as slaves, and named his boat the Black Star, which is where Nkrumah got the name from. For, you know, most of things Ghanaian, he named them after the Black Star.
And also the Black Star Line.
The Black Star Line, yeah, which exactly, you know, the Black Star football team. But he just used that as sort of a name for to represent the Ghanaian nationality. So for me, it was a name. It was sort of coming back home myself, and, you know, because I returned to Ghana in 2006 when, you know, the old man passed away. And so that was a way of, you know, getting back in and, you know, using a name that symbolized its returning to my home country, and also something that was very Ghanaian, you know. And I think, in fact, it should have been patented by the country and not be allowed to be used. But since they didn't do that, exactly. Yeah.
We ended up, you know, finding different things we were interested in. And I got interested in, you know, building stuff, messing around with electronics, and then later on I got interested in the brain. And I ended up combining neuroscience with electrical engineering, which is the field of bioengineering that I work in at Stanford. And at Stanford, I direct the Brains and Silicon Lab, where we are developing computer chips that work like the brain does. And
that's what you're doing now?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing now.
That's interesting. Tell us about developing computer chips that work like the brain.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can put them in robots.
Exactly. So they can interact with the world in real time. Like they can take raw images and sounds, make sense of them.
They can make sounds?
Yeah, and control.
So you can pay them a bill and they give you...
no, that already works. That already works. That already works. I'm talking, exactly. You're talking about being able to control a complex robot and being able to have it interact with the real world by emulating the way in which, you know, you need very parallel type of processing that works at very low power, so the robot can move around. It doesn't have to be plugged in. And you also need it to sort of basically, it doesn't have to be very accurate, but it has to give the right answer quickly.
Yeah. Father would have been very proud of you.
Well, actually, this is what he said, where he said, he wasn't surprised because he himself was good at math and science when he was in school, but his uncle told him that he should study history and he could become a lawyer and make a lot of money. So that's why he ended up being a historian.
So you also have a background in engineering.
Chemical engineering. Yeah.
You didn't proceed, or at the time you studied engineering, perhaps they Jubilee fields have not been developed, so you would have
No, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think that you asked about the history, the whole history thing, and I think what I remember though was that, right, Daddy was very liberal about whatever he wanted to do. He would never try, and I'm left-handed, he never tried to force me to use my right. Whatever he wanted to study, you could go ahead and study. But I do remember him saying that historians were always broke, so if you wanted to be broke, you do history, and so in Ghana maybe, and so we decided to do engineering. I did engineering. He had done engineering. I went to engineering. My younger brother did engineering as well. I chose chemical because I felt that it was the most versatile of engineering fields. And with chemical engineering, people don't realize it, but you can get involved in all kinds of fields. You can get into process engineering. You can work for the Unilevers and types. You can work for pharmaceutical companies. You can work for the Intels on the silicon chip manufacturing lines. Every process, there's a chemical engineer involved. You can go into petroleum engineering and so forth and so on. So I wanted to maintain that flexibility, After a while, I needed to get a formal finance education, so I applied to business school and went and got an MBA. So that's how I transitioned into.
Well, you just say when I got an MBA, but that was from Harvard. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So you get an MBA from Harvard.
So they say.
So you shared the same alma mater with the first family of the United States, Barack Obama and his wife, Harvard.
Yeah.
And their daughter is heading there too.
Yes, yeah.
Will you take me there sometime?
Oh, sure, I will, definitely. I thought you'd been there already. Oh, okay, all right. Okay.
But I see a lot of artwork here in your office.
Right.
What's it all about?
It's art. I collect art. I'm really passionate about art. But, the one of my dad is a special one. That particular artist is a guy called Kuma, and he's different. He uses pieces of fabric and creates this kind of collage, which, I first saw in a gallery and I thought was great. And the first one I saw was of Nkrumah, which is over there. And the one about Nkrumah was a great picture. And I called the guy and I asked him if he could do one about Prof, which he did. And I think it came out very well. And I also then asked him to do one about J.B. Dankwa. I mean, you can't have Nkrumah and not have J.B. Dankwa. And I think my dad would have liked to see the one about J.B. Dankwa more than the one about Nkrumah. So I felt that I should do that, So, he's somebody I really want to support and encourage. I think that he does very good work. And at the launch of the foundation and the event we're having on Tuesday, we'll also have an art exhibition, which Professor Ablade Glover would be the curator of. He's going to manage that process. We'll have about 6 artists on show. We'll also have an artwork auction to raise money for the foundation. And we're going to be auctioning Victor Butler's work, as well as Idiama, who is another very good accomplished artist, and Professor Ablade Glover himself, as well as these pieces of Prof and J.B. Dankwa and Nkrumah for people who want to have his work in their homes.
If Prof were alive today, one of the events that will be uppermost in his mind is the November election. And he'll be hoping that the NPP should win. Are you members of the NPP, by the way? Maybe first you, Prof?
Yes, I support the NPP, of course. I mean, yeah. And
are you actively involved in the NPP abroad?
Not actively involved abroad, but whenever I would come down, I remember I was down in the country in '92. I went on the road with my dad. In '96, I also went on the road with him, and so forth. Those were all very exciting, historic times. And
were you here when the NPP was elected in 2000?
I wasn't here in 2000. Yeah, of course. And so I just keep track. I really try to follow and keep up with things going on.
Charles was probably more active than you.
I've gotten more active. When I first moved back in 2006, 2007, I promised myself I wasn't going to get involved in politics because I felt it distracted from the main focus, which was to, try and work hard and, make a living for myself. I mean, as time has gone, I've begun to realize that, we need to take more responsibility for our own destiny. We can't sit on the sidelines and be, sofa coaches and criticize without, making an effort, because if that happens and we are, allow ourselves to give the country to the people who are willing to go into politics to manage the country, then we are entitled or we deserve what we get. If we don't think that they're doing a good job, then we got to step up and do it ourselves, you know. And if we
So are you
think
stepping
better
up in this election?
yeah, no, we're stepping up. We're trying to do as much as we can to support and to fight and to make sure things are happening
Do
right.
you have a relationship with the NPP flag bearer? He must have been your father's friend.
Oh yeah, Nanado. We've known Nanado from when we were kids. I remember he used to come to the house in Ablain Pay and in airport, and he's always been a great family friend. He was very involved in the '92 campaign. He's always been an older brother to us, and he's a great guy. So we're very close, very close.
Okay. There's a lot of gossip about you, Charles, in town. I'm sure you've heard. Maybe you haven't heard. And you're not married. With all the accomplishments, you're not married. People of Jabin, the men of Jabin get married quickly.
Is that true?
What's going on? Yeah, it's possible.
Man, you know,
Are you still looking?
I'm still looking, still doing a lot of due diligence. It's not easy finding a good woman these days. Yeah. The Bible says you got to find a good woman, you know.
Okay.
Emphasis on good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're still looking?
Still looking.
So we can help you look by
Please,
sort of
please.
pointing you to...
In the right direction.
Yeah,
you
Have a
can.
look at this one. Have a
Yeah.
look.
Do you have any recommendations?
Yes,
for me?
I should have.
Oh, please. Yeah,
For
let's
those
go.
watching this program also.
Oh, are there
What
any?
number can they reach you?
Oh, no, I'm not going to do my number.
So that was Charles and Adom-Otchere, distinguished professor.